Are you feeling as though everything has gone off track over Easter? Ladies, if this is you, fear not. You haven't undone all of your progress, but what you do next, what we do in these next couple of weeks, matters. Welcome back to another episode of the Nicola Graham Podcast. It feels as though forever since I last recorded an episode, ladies. And today, this was not the planned theme for today, but I'm speaking to more women and more of my clients who, I'm just hearing the same question. How do you reset after the Easter break? Whether or not that's because you've had kiddos off, or you've just been out of routine, or you've done lots of socialising, lots of meals out. Maybe there's been lots of chocolate, or you've been on holiday, and we're just feeling the need to reset, and we don't want to fall victim to doing anything too restrictive. We don't want to jump into anything that's too faddy, but we want to know how to quickly reset, quickly get back in the driver's seat. So I'm going to talk you through my 3-step framework today. Very quick and short episodes. As always, we do with our first episodes of the week. No unfiltered. I'm going to cut straight to it. I'll save all of my anecdotes and my personal life updates for our next episode. I've also got an exciting announcement for our next episode, ladies. So if you are not already subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. It helps us to grow, to get visibility. But most importantly, it means that you're not going to miss out on the upcoming big announcements that we've got on next week's episode, or on our next episode, I should say. But okay, let's get back to the matter in hand. You are ready to reset after the Easter period. First of all, just a bit of a reality check. If you've been overeating, okay, that is not instant failure. But what is really going on is dragging it out for days on end. And at this point now, maybe weeks. Okay, so maybe you ate a little bit more chocolate than you planned, or you had a little bit more alcohol, or whatever it was. Well, if you are still eating that chocolate now because you haven't quite figured out how you're going to reset, so in that process of not quite knowing whether you're coming or going, you're still chipping away at the chocolates every day, that's the issue. So the chocolate that you ate back 7 days ago on Easter Sunday and Monday, that wasn't the deal breaker. It's the fact that you've still been doing it then, every day since. So we've got to understand that whenever we want to put a reset in place, we quickly draw a line. No dragging it out for days. Honestly, the meal off plan, the social occasion, the trip away, whatever it was, that is not the setback. It's the amount of time it takes to get back in the driver's seat. And this is where all or nothing really kicks in, and some of you will relate to this way of thinking, is that if you can't do everything to either the best of your ability or to your normal routine, then you figure that it can't be done, instead of just realizing that your best is good enough. Your best on any given day is good enough. I've had this conversation with a client last week because she was like, Nick, penny drop, because she's got her kiddos off, and before the Easter holidays, she's lost a lot of weight, this client. She's really had such an unbelievable transformation up until this point, and she's still going, she's still evolving, her identity is shifting, the things that she gets to do with her family, the way she dresses, like everything has just changed, and she never wants to go back from that, and she's not going to. But the fear of the likes of the Easter or anything where she feels as though the routine is going to be taken out of her hands, she's still got that uncertainty, like, can I do this? And I said, listen, we've got to get clear that this is going to continue to be a part of a normal life for you. Like, we've got another half term in another couple of weeks, but what you've got to get clear on is what your best needs to look like on any given day. So it's not the same routine day in and day out. Like, very few of us are able to achieve that consistently, 52 weeks of the year. But when things do shift, it's knowing that, okay, so I've just got to be able to show up today and give the best of my ability on any given day. And you'll know in your own mind whether you are showing up for yourself to the best of your ability. And it just removes that all or nothing thinking, it removes that, well, if it can't be done perfectly, it can't be done at all. And that's, I think a lot of people confuse this with maybe laziness, but it's not that. It's, all or nothing thinking is, I think a lot of it is down to diet culture and like previous years and decades of us just being fed this very specific way that we've got to eat, or we've got to move, or we've got to look. And so it has us feeling as though, well, if we can't stick to those protocols, or, previous to now, there's been like good or bad foods. You ladies will know, like, all of my clients, or I should say none of my clients, have restrictions in place. So we follow a lifestyle protocol with no restrictions. However, you will get better at making better decisions that align with your goal, because that's all we want to do. We don't want to restrict ourselves. Like, there's a reason that I didn't gorge on chocolate over Easter. It's not because I was being good. It's because I allow myself chocolate whenever I want it. I'm not restricting myself for the whole rest of the year. So the one opportunity that I get to eat it, I'm going to go flat out. I never restrict. It's the same with alcohol. I never feel the need to overdo it because I'm not restricting myself at any other time. I'll have a drink, I'll have a slice of pizza, I'll have a piece of chocolate, I'll have whatever I want, whenever I want. But what myself and the ladies that I work with have got really good at doing is making really good choices for ourselves. And so we feel so good about the lifestyle that we're leading. We just don't feel the need to go too wildly away from that, go too wildly off course. Like, there's no appeal, but when we've got restrictions in place, that's where we put food or alcohol or chocolate or whatever it might be. We put it on a pedestal because we're restricting ourselves, because we think that if we remove this one item or this one food group, if we remove that, that's going to be the answer to our results. And so by removing it, we're putting it on a pedestal. And so then when we allow ourselves a little bit, we think, right, okay, we might as well just go overboard, because whilst we've let the floodgates open, let's get as much in as we can, because we're then going to go back to restricting ourselves. And that's why binge restrict, yo-yo dieting, any of these diets that have promoted good and bad foods in the past that you may have done, ladies, that's why it's put you into this way of all or nothing thinking. And it's not laziness. If it can't be done perfectly, it can't be done at all. It's not laziness. It's a state of mind. It's a way of thinking. And it's almost like a belief. It's a belief system that has been programmed that we now want to get around. So the first thing that you are going to do, if you are ready to reset this week, is get very clear on the calorie goal. Now, yes, we do not want to be tracking calories forever. However, you're ready to reset. So we want to impact mood, energy. We want to reduce bloat. We want to lower any inflammation, maybe from junk, processed food, alcohol, all of the above. And so we need to be clear, okay, what is going into my body? We need to have eyes on our nutrition. So we want to be clear on the calorie goal and what foods we need to eat to meet that calorie goal. Now, something I've said to my clients this week, and I always come back to this point, is counting calories matters, but making your calories count is more important. I'll say that again. Counting calories matters, but making your calories count is more important. And what I mean by this is, when you look at that calorie goal, I then want you to plan out your meals based on whole food ingredients, based on protein on the plate first, followed by fruit, vegetable, salad, micronutrients, then followed by a portion, not a plate full, a portion of either your small carbohydrates, which would be your sweet potato, your white potato, maybe some rice, maybe some quinoa, some couscous, or your healthy fats, which is your avocado, your olives, maybe your halloumi cheese, whatever the option might be. I won't get into specifics. But we've got to get clear what our daily makeup of meals needs to look like. And then we want to rinse and repeat on that. I would strongly recommend that you remove too much variety at this point. If you're listening to this and you want to reset, keep it simple. More variety, more room for error. Like, the more variety that we add, and I know that we like this idea of being able to eat the way certain people do on social media, or having all of this variety, or the kids want to eat this and I want to eat that. Okay, let's just block all of that noise out for a moment. You've showed up to this podcast, you want to reset, keep your nutrition simple, point blank, because the more that you add in, the more that you've got to meticulously track. And if you're willing to meticulously track, then that's fine. But if you know that that is going to lead to you feeling a little bit burnt out, overwhelmed, and just tired of tracking every morsel, keep it simple. Keep it very simple. Rinse and repeat. Keep ultra-processed, packeted, junky calories to an absolute bare minimum, if not remove. And focus your diet on whole foods, protein, micronutrients, and your smart carbs and your healthy fats. Your next port of call is going to be focusing on hydration and steps. So this is the quickest way, ladies, to reduce bloat and improve energy fast. Okay, we want to improve our energy levels because when our energy levels are where we need them to be, that's going to support everything else. Mood, discipline, ability to show up with the energy that we want. And it's when we're lagging on energy, that's when we find ourselves grazing at 3 p.m. or dropping the ball at 6 p.m, 7 p.m, checking the fridge at 8 p.m, staying in bed when we said we were going to work out because our energy is lagging. So we want to get this body battery up. So we need to be well hydrated. If you know that you need to reset because you've overindulged a little, I would hydrate and then some. Honestly, like, you are going to benefit from ensuring that you hit at least enough water on a daily basis, and then your steps, your general movement. So your general movement, there's a few reasons why this is so important. So number one, this is when we offer ourselves the chance to re-regulate. So if you think of your hormones like on loop or on a cycle, this is when we get to kick everything along and we boost that serotonin and we lower that cortisol and we calm that ghrelin hormone. So cortisol is your adrenaline sort of stressor hormone. Ghrelin is your hunger hormone. Serotonin is your happy hormone. So we're going to be boosting that. I won't name drop too many hormones for those of you who really at this point feel a little bit lost by it all. But honestly, getting out for your walk, this is when we get to re-regulate. So whether you feel like it or whether you don't, this has to be a priority. And again, something I've said to clients off the back of Easter is whether it is inconvenient or whether it feels uncomfortable, we have to be willing to prioritise the movement if we know that we want to reset or accelerate our results. Because what we will try to convince ourselves of is that we didn't have the time to do it. And so, and we can, 9 times out of 10, we can justify that to ourselves because there will always be a job or something that we need to prioritise. So we will justify why we can't get that walk. But you've got to be okay knowing that in justifying that, you are only keeping yourself stuck. And that's it. That there's no, unfortunately, there's no program out there that can get you up off the couch and walk for you. We've just got to be willing to get up and make it happen. And that is, honestly, that is when you will get the mood boost, the energy boost, and really, really offer yourself the chance to reset. And it's funny because it's normally the last thing that we feel like doing. We feel tired, we feel lethargic, we might feel a little bit bloated. You don't need a detox tea or any of these other fancy things that you can buy in the shops that are probably all over the shops at the moment because very clever marketing will know that most women are feeling overindulged and maybe a little bit overstimulated after the Easter break. Just move, get out in fresh air and do it as much as you can. So do it more than what feels normal. Give yourself that baseline of that 10,000 steps a day. But if you can get more, absolutely get more and make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. 2 pints upon waking is normally what I would recommend as my sort of like rule of thumb. So what happens when we take water in of a morning? First of all, overnight, I wouldn't say you've dehydrated, but overnight is probably the longest period that you go. It should be, ladies. You go without any water. So the first thing that we want to signal to the body when we wake up for morning, like we're awake, we're ready to go, we're going to rehydrate. So this communicates. If you get into a habit of this is like a signal, as with anything else, as with your morning sunlight, as with your general movement. It's a signal to the body, I'm up, I'm awake, I'm ready to move. It also genuinely rehydrates you after sleep. So on occasion, you might wake up and maybe you feel like you just need caffeine or you're craving carbs or, we just need something specific. What you actually need is hydration. So you're going to have those 2 pints of water upon waking. And then I would strive for sort of like 1.5 litres, if not 2 litres by 12 noon. And then you're just going to sip your water throughout the rest of the day after that to aim for 2.5 to 3 litres in an entire day. Now, if you're doing 10,000 steps, you're getting your strength training in 3 times a week. That is not an excessive amount of water if you are in a fat loss phase. Or even if you're not in a fat loss phase, it's a normal amount of water. However, you will find advice on social media, I'm sure, that goes against that. And we can choose to take that advice because it makes us feel comfortable. So we want to hear that we don't have to drink all of the water or move as much. There's plenty of people out there saying, You don't need to be moving 10,000 steps a day or drinking all of this. Take it from me. If you want to reset, you want to accelerate, you want to improve mood, you want to improve energy, you want to reduce bloat, you want to feel at your best, you want to get after your results, you're going to wake up, you're going to hydrate, you're going to move your body. And then your third port of call this week, ladies, is just to get back to normal training. No punishing yourself with extra cardio. It's so counterproductive. It actually just wreaks havoc with our hunger hormone. So 9 times out of 10, we wind up feeling exhausted. And then it's really hard then to stay on top of the nutrition goal, which is the number one. It's the number one driver for your results. So the first thing that I've spoken about on this podcast is making sure that we are tuned in with our nutrition goal. We know how many calories we have. We know how much protein that we should be hitting. And so we want to be able to adhere to that as best that we can. So just go back to your normal training. And the way that I frame this to a lot of clients is that ideally, we want you to be leaving your training sessions with energy still in the tank. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before, and some of you may have never heard this. And it is against the grain of what most women will chase after. So we go into the gym and we want to leave the gym feeling like we've left everything in there, like we are dripping in sweat, we've got no energy left, like we exhausted ourselves, like we gave our 100%. But that can be really counterproductive if you then want to be able to show up day in and day out and recover well and sustain either a healthy body weight or strive for fat loss. So we would rather that you leave the gym with 10% still in the tank. Now, that's not to say that you're not going to give your max on the exercises that you are doing, but we don't want to burn out with an hour's worth of 10 to 12 different exercises where you're doing a lunge straight into a bicep curl, all of these crazy exercises that we see. We just want to go in, we want to go through the workout, we want to lift intentionally. There's 3 ways that you can progress every time you go into your training, whether it's lifting with better form, adding on extra reps, or increasing your weight. And when your session is done, you're going to have a quick stretch and you're going to leave the gym. And if you still feel as though you've got energy in the tank, happy days, because that is going to support your ability to stay on course with your nutrition for the whole rest of the day. Don't forget, post-workout, you also want to make sure that you are continuing to hydrate. And this is it. No detox, no big bells and whistles, no harsh deficits or being restrictive. We just need to get back to what works, ladies. And if up until this point, you haven't really had a plan in place, you haven't really had a structure that you follow, going back to what works kind of feels a little bit misleading to you because you've never really established what works. This is why we have Thriving Women Community, and this is why we have the group coaching tier, so that if you want to be a part of the community, you want to have the support of a coach, you want to have the support of like-minded women, you know that you would love to have a plan that allows you to have 10% left in the tank when you leave that gym. You would love to have somebody help you map out specifics when it comes to nutrition goals that isn't restrictive, that isn't a harsh deficit, that doesn't feel like you're having to starve yourself. Then now is the time to take action, because we are 12 weeks out from the summer. We're 12 weeks out from summer. So now is the time to take action. Don't overthink it. We're very good at convincing ourselves that we can do it alone. We don't need the help. We don't need the plan. We don't need the support or the restrictive way that worked last time. I'm just going to do it one last time and then I'll follow the healthy lifestyle. But I really don't want to do that right now because it doesn't feel as though it's going to work. Or the internal narrative, like I know our mind sometimes has this funny little way of working against us. But ladies, if you know that you need structure, support, accountability, come and join us. If you are in need of a reset, you're going to get clear on your calories. You're going to make sure that you nail your hydration and your steps on a daily basis. No excuses made. And you're going to get back to normal with your training. And if you do those 3 things, I would love you to drop me a message off the back of this podcast. Drop me a message in 7 days' time. Let me know how you're feeling. And if you know you want to come inside of the community, you would love to have a plan, you'd love to have some structure and support, simply drop me a DM. Drop me a DM on Instagram. Send me the word reset and I will drop you a message back and we can go from there. Ladies, I will leave you with the reminder that you haven't undone your progress, but what you do next truly, truly matters. And I will catch you all on the next episode of the Nicola Graham Podcast.